Welcome to Spooky History. In today's episode, we're diving down into Skeleton Lake. $50 million years ago, the ancient Tethys Ocean was closed forever when the southern Indo-Australian tectonic plate collided with the northern Eurasian plate. The result was the mighty Himalayas, folds upon folds of fault-thrusted mountain ranges stretching 1,500 miles, the home of Mount Everest itself. In high altitudes where the snowy peaks enclose you in a different world, time stops. The elements are brutal and unforgiving. Nothing has changed there for millennia. Through human history, this bewitching world has drawn many in and not let everyone out. One need only glance at photos of climbers who never left the slopes of Mount Everest near mummified in the snow, in modern gear, modern clothes, luminous jackets, and all. Not even helicopters can safely reach these heights to bring them home for a decent funeral. Every mystery hidden beneath ice and snow only leads to more questions, which may never be answered. We'll never learn every story from past travellers brave enough to cross the vast mountain range. But in 1942, the Himalayas gave up one of its best-kept secrets. I'm going to invite you into the shoes of a certain game reserve ranger named Hari Kishan Madhwai. He's alone, trudging his way through these mountains in the Uttarakhand state, India. Listen to his boots crunch in and out of the snow, the only sound on endless reply in this lonely and beautiful white desert. The air is thin, a cold breeze nips his skin, while the glare of reflected sunlight burns his eyes. At about 4,800 meters above sea level, he comes upon a glacial lake in the Trishul Massif. It is small, only 2 to 3 meters deep and 40 meters wide, like a little oasis, ominous and quiet, closed in by glaciers on all sides, and for only 1 month of the year it is unfrozen. Which is why the ranger saw them, all along the edges and staring up at him from crystal clear water. Corpses, about 300 of them. What's more, they appeared to be quite recent. Due to the freakish preservation of frozen soft tissue and clothing, it was initially thought that they were skeletons of invading Japanese soldiers from the Second World War. Not so. Upon closer examination, initial dating of the bones put them all the way back to roughly 850 AD. And it just kept getting more interesting. With the bodies were many wooden artifacts, iron spearheads, leather slippers and finger rings and other jewellery. Though apparently reports of such bodies were also made during the 19th century, it was now becoming obvious this was no obscure burial ground, but the site of some terrible death scene. Something awful happened here. During the 1950s, a study of the skeletons by the Anthropological Survey of India found the skeletons all had severe head injuries made by what could at first only be interpreted as fatal impacts from round objects. Analysis revealed that the trauma which occurred at the time of death, and hence was the cause of death, was an identical pattern on all the skeletons. Severe impacts of large round objects on the shoulders and skulls. What could it have been? The fatal injuries pointed to no weapons in use of that era, and whatever it was, the same impact pattern was on all of the bodies. It points to only one direction these deadly blows could have come from. Above. You see, according to local legends and folk songs, the area was already shrouded in a dark tale. Once upon a time, Raja Jadchaval, king of Kannauj, was travelling through there with his pregnant wife, servants and dance troupe on a pilgrimage to the Nanda Devi shrine to celebrate the goddess Nanda. The celebration was always a major event, called the Nanda Devi Rajat, but there was a catch. This goddess was apparently picky about those she allowed to pass through this sacred territory. According to myth, Nanda Devi will rain death upon any disrespectful outsiders, intruding on her mountain sanctuary, dropping hailstones hard as iron. Hailstones. Legend also says the king took his dancers to that spot and the hailstorm turned the dancers into stone. Another myth says the king's wife gave birth there, after which her placenta flowed down to the lake, killing everyone there. But really, could hailstones have killed so many people in that one very specific spot all at once? It isn't unfeasible. For instance, during the late 1800s, 230 people were also killed by a deadly hailstorm in northern India. Reports say the hailstones were big as oranges. In 2003, scientists took ancient DNA from 38 of the skeletons. Isotopes, dietary reconstructions, radiocarbon dating, and osteological analysis showed that 3 genetically distinct groups of people died there, and from very different eras. According to genome analysis, some were South Asians who had all died there at once, but over a period of time. The rest were Eastern Mediterranean who had died in a single event, though it's a mystery as to why the latter would be on what was not a traditional trade route, but that of a pilgrimage, when their Mediterranean origin wasn't generally associated with Hindu worship, and what the Eastern Mediterranean group were doing there remains unsolved. In any case, results concluded the site was not that of one isolated tragedy. It seems these deadly hailstorms have happened at least several times over a period of 1,000 years from 800 AD to 1800 AD. What's especially creepy is the same catastrophic event happened at least 3 times on the same spot. These days it's difficult to make accurate studies because of frequent rock slides at the site. Worse yet, tourists are now a major problem. Greedy, disrespectful hikers, ignorant enough to take skeletal remains as souvenirs. Soon there'll be none left as Skeleton Lake becomes an increasingly popular spot. The goddess doesn't like intruders on her sacred mountains, eh? I wish that were true. Maybe she could pull her finger out and teach someone a lesson. After all, local legend has it that heavy rain means the goddess is crying, which, at these freezing altitudes, means hailstones. Simply an amazing tragic coincidence that so many deaths occurred at exactly the same site from exactly the same freak weather? Or is there more to the wrath of goddess Nanda Devi, a dormant beast waiting for a hiker's luck to run out? I hope you enjoyed that episode of Spooky History. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at SpookyHistShow, and donate to help supporters produce the show at paypal.me/noisyghostent. If you have ideas for future episodes, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and please, do have nightmares. Goodbye.